Imagine this. You are free-falling into an abyss, an arrow piercing your shoulder. Below you is a black ocean waiting to swallow you whole. You're definitely dead, right? But instead of being scared out of your mind, you smile.
Huh?
Why? Why would a dying man smile with such satisfaction? Let me rewind the tape of your life a bit. It all started in a stinking slum with a crazy dream. This is you, bro. You were born right in the rotting slum beneath the Capitol walls. A place where a cup of clean water costs as much as fresh blood and hope.
No! God, please, no!
Well, forget it. That was sold out generations ago. Your parents disappeared Hollywood style, either by plague or a purge, leaving you alone between the only two types of people here, those who hold the sword and those who kneel for scraps. You have no keepsakes of them, except for a faint melody in your dreams, the sound of a lute echoing like a sad indie movie soundtrack. That obsession drove you crazy, climbing the walls of noble mansions, clinging to windows just to eavesdrop on the young ladies playing music like a professional stalker. Then one day, the gods must have been drunk because they smiled at you. You found an antique lute at a black market stall run by a merchant with rotten teeth and vulture eyes. He told you it was a relic of a famous bard. Price, 2 silver coins. You emptied your pockets, exactly 98 zinc coins, money from polishing shoes and starving all winter. The merchant acted all, "I pity you, take it as charity," then snatched your money bag, smirking like he just sold a piece of rotten wood to an idiot. You hugged the lute and ran back to your rocky alcove, heart pounding. "Tonight, I become a bard, guys." What you didn't know, the neck was warped, the body was cracked like a butt after a beating. Impossible to fix.
Huh?
Surprise. A rough burlap sack was thrown over your head. You were thrown onto the floor of a carriage like a blindfolded piñata. You tried to kick wildly, but a cold knife pressed against your neck. "Scream, and I cut your tongue, brat." You trembled like a leaf, pleading, "I'm an orphan, no one will pay a ransom." The slave traders laughed savagely. "Even better, I need nobodies that no one will look for to sell to mercenary camps and quarries." Street instinct kicked in. You faked a seizure, screaming, "I have the plague, I'm about to vomit everywhere." They feared disease more than ghosts, stopped the carriage, tied you to a tree stump, and stood 8 meters away to discuss whether to dump you. But they didn't know. A one-armed thief once taught you how to slip a knot just by breathing. You tensed your muscles to create a gap, slipped out, and ran into the forest like a chased squirrel. They were wearing heavy armor and drunk. You were small as a mole. You vanished into the night. Then you stopped. The lute was still on the carriage.
Oh no.
Anyone with a brain would keep running. But you? Without that lute, your life was a big fat zero. You turned back, creeping like a fool in a horror movie, climbed onto the carriage and grabbed the lute while they were searching the bushes with torches in the distance. Your heart beat like a disco drum. You hugged the lute and ran for your life, proving that you were ready to die for a piece of rotten wood. But it was the only thing that made you feel alive. Back at your abandoned shack near the dump, you tremblingly plucked the strings. Your fingers were clumsy, the sound came out like a cat being run over mixed with old bus brakes. To you, it was still a heavenly song. You fell into a trance, forgetting hunger and cold. But the slum isn't Carnegie Hall. The neighbors were furious at the noise. Beggars threw stones, yelling, "Shut your mouth, you crazy fool!" You hugged the lute and ran to a deserted riverbank, determined to play under the moon. But you were so immersed in the broken melody that you didn't hear the hoofbeats approaching. The slave traders came back, not looking specifically for you, but because they were short on their headcount quota for the mercenary camp. A leather whip cracked, whack! You fell face down in the mud. Your blood splattered on the strings. The leader snatched the lute, laughing, "Trash wasting my time!" then smashed it hard against your head.
Huh?
Wood shattered, strings snapped, You were dazed, the world turned red. He was about to draw his sword to finish you, but his lackey reminded him, "Boss, if you kill him, we're one life short. The commander will cut our pay. The delivery deadline is coming."
Okay.
So you survived thanks to their strict HR management. Half dead, bloodied, you were thrown back into the stinking carriage like a bag of recycled trash. You woke up in a damp dungeon, head throbbing like it was hit by a sledgehammer, memory wiped clean like a formatted hard drive. You looked around, seeing dozens of other terrified kids. The iron door opened. A noble teenager stood up and shouted, "My father is the count. You are all dead. Release me." Shoulder to the wall. The Grand Commander didn't say a word. Threw a dagger. Thwack! Pinning the kid's shoulder to the wall, making him pass out. He said coldly, "In here, noble blood bleeds red just like pig blood, kid." Training started immediately, running 20 laps in a muddy yard under the scorching sun. Falling meant getting whipped more. You ran on pure fear. Eating watery porridge in silence. At night, whispering real names so as not to forget. Your turn. Silence. You opened your mouth but remembered nothing. Someone laughed loudly. This guy has the memory of a little chick. From then on, your nickname was officially Chick. But you didn't know that broken brain was a gift. Amnesia became a superpower. Getting bones broken. 5 minutes later, you forgot the pain. Grinning widely. You bonded with Cell Squad 9. Squirrel. Picks locks like hacking Wi-Fi passwords. A master food thief. Elephant. Strength like the Hulk but silent. A human shield for the brothers. Wolf. Hearing like a police dog. Always quiet. Guards coming. Thanks to him, the group could sleep soundly. One night, using a shard of pottery, you all cut your hands for a blood oath action movie style. Survive or die together. Though honestly, dying together was fine, as long as it didn't hurt too much. 3 years passed, the final trial, dropped into the death forest. 4 squads in 4 directions. Only one squad survives. Your squad 9 entered the forest. Squirrel disarmed traps. Elephant cleared the path. Wolf kept watch. You spotted Squad 7 camping by a stream, thinking they were safe. You recognized the kid who shared porridge with you 2 days ago. Your hand trembled on the crossbow trigger. Humanity screamed, "Don't shoot!" But a scream rang out from afar. Another squad had started killing. If you hesitated, your family would die. Something inside you switched off. You pulled the trigger. 3 bodies fell. No heroic soundtrack, just cold calculation and the smell of blood. That night, you fought without rest, being the only team to return to the rally point. In the morning, you were promoted to captain. The Grand Commander walked among the piles of corpses, patting your shoulder. A good assassin isn't one who dances with a sword beautifully, but one who has no heart. Just like you, little Chick 4. 3 years later, your squad became the dream team of the Assassin Guild. Assassinating corrupt officials by spilling wine on them as a distraction, and then dropping colorless poison.
Nice.
Hijacking gold wagons, Fast and Furious style, by shooting out wheels and flanking. No speeches, no flashy moves, just efficiency. Then came that fateful night at the inn, while cleaning weapons. Squirrel confessed, "I'm sick of the smell of blood. I've saved enough money. I want to open a bakery in the north." He talked about the smell of baked bread instead of fear. You panicked, cutting him off. "Shut your mouth. That thought is poison. Leaving the guild means death." Next morning, the Grand Commander summoned you. Squirrel had fled with a bag of gold and was marked a traitor. The order? Bring his head back, or the whole squad will be tortured to death to pay the price. You knew Squirrel wouldn't go north. You led the team south. After 2 days, you found Squirrel at an abandoned house by the forest edge. He didn't run. He turned to look at you. He knew if others caught him, he'd be skinned alive. You were his only mercy. He showed you a crumpled drawing of a bakery pressed against his chest. Elephant and Wolf turned away in pain. You drew your sword. Squirrel smiled sadly. "Make it quick, Captain. Don't let me be tortured." The world stopped. Memories flooded back, but you had to do it. You slashed. One strike. The last part of your humanity died right there with him, bro. After that, you couldn't sleep. You asked Elephant and Wolf what their dreams were. Elephant wanted to be a rich lord so no one would dare touch him. Wolf wanted to be a legendary assassin. And you? Empty, like a wallet after Black Friday. You were a hollow shell that knew how to kill. You hunted down old records, caught the 2 slave traders who captured you years ago, tortured them in a cellar. They cried and begged. One screamed, "Spare me! You're just that brat hugging the broken lute from years ago." The phrase, broken lute, was like a key unlocking your brain. Memories flooded back like a cheap flashback movie. You remembered. You were born to play music, not to kill. You killed them, then went straight to the most expensive music shop in the city. The owner looked at you in fear. You threw a bag of blood-stained gold on the table. "Give me the most expensive lute."
Okay.
Back in the safe house, your calloused, board-wielding hands tremblingly plucked the first note. A perfect, clear sound. You played frantically every night.
Huh?
A new, unusual mission. Burn an ambassador's carriage in the neutral square. Easy peasy. You told Wolf and Elephant to go ahead. "I want to listen to some music. You guys go share to the cut." After the job, you sneaked into the theater to hear the royal musician perform. That was the last time you saw them alive. Turns out the carriage you burned belonged to an official from the Grand Commander's own faction. He wanted a pretext for an internal purge, and your squad was the scapegoat to appease the situation. Guild soldiers surrounded the inn. A rain of poison arrows killed Elephant and Wolf cleanly before they could even draw their weapons. You survived thanks to loving music, but your assassin instinct kicked in. Black cloaks are here. You saw shadows blocking the exits. You ran to the back door, bumped into an old fellow trainee. You punched his throat before he could raise the alarm. You stole a horse and rode like an action movie star. 3 knights chased you on the trail. You dodged arrows, threw a dagger hitting the first one in the neck, then kicked the second one down. The last one left was the Grand Commander himself. He slashed, you blocked with the instrument case. The new lute shattered for the second time. The horses pressed close. You smelled death. You rushed into a narrow mountain pass. He fired a crossbow. The arrow grazed your shoulder. You saw death approaching. You ran, but ahead was a cliff overlooking the sea. Suddenly, a peasant girl stood frozen in the middle of the road out of fear. Assassin Brain screamed, "Ram her, you have to live. She's just an obstacle." But the musician's heart whispered, "Don't. You're not a monster anymore." You yanked the reins to the right. The horse flew straight into the black abyss. As you fell, you looked up. The Grand Commander fired one last arrow through your shoulder to be sure. You hit the freezing water like hitting rock, sinking down. You died. But in the final moments, you didn't see darkness. You saw a magnificent royal hall holding a lute, Squirrel holding a hot loaf of bread, Elephant raising a glass, Wolf sleeping soundly without anxiety for the first time in his life. You sat down, strumming the ballad of your life, and when the final note rang out, you smiled. This time, It was the real smile of a guy who was once an assassin, once a little chick, and finally became a bard.